there are so many movements happening. There are so many demonstrations occurring. You have to ask yourself, though, when you participate in these demonstrations and in these movements, and I encourage everybody, if your heart feels it, if you feel connected to it, if you feel like you need to go and take a stand, you go take a stand, right? And I think it's very exciting because I feel as though that people are standing in what they feel is right, what they feel is kind, and what they feel is just, and that is our job. I read this wonderful quote by Martin Luther King that said, "It is our duty to disobey laws that are unjust." Isn't that beautiful? How courageous is that? What would prevent us from moving away from that? Fear, right? Fear of what might happen. But if you're standing in love, then you know that you're always standing in the right place, right? But when we go to these demonstrations, when we go to these movements, as people who are sitting in this room today, as people who are part of the spiritual community, I ask you to get very clear as what you are standing for. If you are going to something and because you are standing for, because you're against something, I got to tell you, that is the most unproductive thing you could ever possibly do. Go somewhere because you're against something. I'm against this. Well, if you're against it, what are you really paying attention to? That thing that you're against, right? Mother Teresa said, "I am not anti-war. I am pro-peace," because she got it. She knew what the vision that she was holding in her mind, in her heart, and she stood for that vision. So, if you're going to something because you are anti-something, all you're doing is giving more energy and more power to that thing that you are against. So as we go out there, as we are taking a stand to being these loving channels of transformation and light in our communities, in this communities, in your family, at work, at these rallies, at these marches, in these demonstrations, what are you standing for? Let's get clear. What are you standing for? And in order to stand for something, that means that you got to get out of your opinions and judgment about the opposition, right? Because if you're opposing them, listen, if you feel someone judging you, you close up. What do you think they do? The people that you oppose. Do you think if you're anti this and telling them that they're wrong, they're like, "Oh, I didn't realize I was wrong this whole time. Hey, sit down, let's talk about that. I didn't realize I was stupid. Oh, you mean that I'm just being racist? Oh, thank you for pointing that out. I didn't know. Now I'm on your side. Thanks for shouting louder than I did." Has anything ever been resolved in that way? So, listen, I'm not coming here with saying that I have the exact answer or the approach or the formula here. But I do suspect that if we are willing to do our own work, our own internal work, so that we can cast aside the judgments and opinions and the shame from our past, so we can be open and free and love ourselves so deeply that we can then extend that generosity to our brothers and sisters, so we can begin to see the innocence in everyone who stands before us, then I feel as though the lines of communication are going to be a little more open and something new can emerge. I don't know how many more examples we have to have of two people, two systems running against each other is not productive or loving or transformational in any way. It's time for something new to emerge, and it's something to emerge for all people. But it's going to be our job, and you know what? It is our job. Why? Because we're having this conversation now, because we are in on it. It is our job to start the conversation, a productive conversation, a heart-centered conversation, in which no one is wrong, but everybody is invited to share, and we have to be willing to listen. Even if what is being shared sounds confusing, sounds conflicting, we have to give them the space to be heard, because that's what we are asking them to do, is to hear us. And as soon as everyone realizes that they are available to share their voice, that they have a voice, then a new narrative can grow from that. Amen. Know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.